Great, okay. This is Faceting Academy, and this morning we've got Ray Holliday, is the proprietor of Holliday Jewelers, and multi-generational master goldsmith, and I've known him for several years, been working with him for a while, and he's going to talk today and visit with us about developing a relationship with a jeweler for newer faceters. And thank you very much for being here, and welcome Ray Holliday.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to go through, I handed you an outline. I'm going to go through the outline, and then at the end you can ask questions, or if a burning question comes up in the midst, feel free to jump in and ask me if there's something not clear or another question comes to mind. So the basic premise of this is, what do I need as a jewelry store owner from you, a gem cutter? And it's pretty simple. I'll give you, the basic philosophy is, and I use this same philosophy with all of my vendors that I'm buying jewelry from, that I work with, repair people, is I expect it to be a partnership that's going to be mutually beneficial. That's how things go best. I have, of course, my best interest in mind, and I also want to be fair to you. I try to be fair to the people that I work with, because I want to continue doing business with them in the future. And so if John comes to me and he wants to do some business with me, I'm not going to try to take advantage of him. I want to be as fair to him as I can, but I want to make money myself, because we're all in this to make money. We want to enjoy what we're doing. I'm assuming that's why you're here, is because you enjoy what you're doing. I enjoy making jewelry and selling beautiful jewelry and supplying people with beautiful jewelry, and that's why I'm in the business I'm in. And I like that, but I also have a desire to make a living while I'm at it, and I want to help other people make a living too. So it all needs to be, in my mind, a symbiotic relationship, a partnership. And so keep that in mind. And if you have that in mind, that you're there to help them and to help yourself, then the decisions you make will be beneficial to both of you, and you'll have a better relationship overall. So that's a major philosophical thing that you need to consider. Over the experience that I've been a bench jeweler for over 30 years. My father started the store back in 1975, and so we've been around Klamath Falls for quite a while. And from my experience, what I see that we need most from faceters is repairs. Gemstones that get chipped, that as customers wear them, the facets get abraded, and so that's our biggest need in that. John has filled a need for us sporadically over the years in supplying us with unique gemstones to sell, and I'll address that a little bit later on too. But right now I want to talk about the repairs. We're in a new environment, a new world right now, where gold is at such a high price, and so many people are selling gold and selling their jewelry. And I pull all the gemstones out of the jewelry that we buy before we send it off to the refinery. So I have bags and bags of little tiny diamonds and colored gemstones. There's imitations, creations, there's naturals, there's anything you can think of. I've got a bag of the weirdest things you can imagine. It's a big bag too. And I go through this and I sort it, and I try to find valuable gemstones in it. We found some very incredible and some very unique gemstones that we bought at good values through buying them off the street. Now, if somebody's been wearing them in their ring for a few years, or for 50 years, or whatever it is, it's in need of repair. And so right now, I think that in this business environment that jewelry stores find themselves in now, there's a big need for someone to be doing repairs on these gemstones. I have a bag that I brought with me today of just a few that we've ID'd that are somewhat valuable. There's some more valuable than others. There's sapphires, tanzanites, amethysts, citrines, garnets, different gemstones in here. But this is just a small sampling of the kind of things that we're finding in the rings that we're buying. And we don't necessarily ID them when we buy them. We just buy them for the gold, and the gemstones come along with it sometimes. And so we don't know what they are, so we have to go through the whole process of cleaning them, sorting them, IDing them, and then finding someone to spruce them up, make them look like new, because gemstones, like gold, can be revitalized and remodeled and made to look like new. So that is a place that you can fit into this whole jewelry environment, is in doing these repairs. And it's a good way to get started. If your goal is to be cutting your own stones and cutting unique stones and selling those through jewelry stores, this is a good in, is if you're doing repairs for jewelry stores. And because there's a big opportunity there for jewelry stores. I don't know how many of them are actually pulling out the gemstones and sorting them like this, but there's a big opportunity there. It's very rare that I have somebody come to me with rough material and want something cut. It happens on occasion. Generally, someone comes to me with some rough, I can look at it and say, and I don't have any knowledge of faceting, very minimal. But I can look at it and go, I don't think there's any gemstones in here, because people end up with some pretty bad rough material. So having gemstones that we want cut out of rough, it's a pretty rare occasion. I can say there's been, over the 30 years I've been in business, half a dozen times or so where we've actually had someone cut something out of some rough. So at least from and we're in an area here where there's a lot of rough material around. There's a lot of different gemstones found in this region, but the majority of it isn't really facetable or fashionable material. An important thing is quick service, and I'll add to that sometimes speed. There's a difference between quick service and speed. Quick service is being, in a timely fashion, not having to wait weeks and weeks to get something. Speed sometimes is, I just chipped this customer's stone and they're coming to pick this up day after tomorrow. Can you repair this? Or I braided it with a wheel, or something happened. There's times when that is, and that can be of great value, and that's a point where the jeweler can be in a very high point of need. And you can really endear yourselves to them if you're in the position at that time to do a quick repair on a gemstone for them, because we want to, when we promise something for a customer, we want to be able to deliver it on time and deliver it in first class shape. And if I know that occasionally things happen with bench jewelers that gemstones get damaged, and to get a quick repair on them is a valuable thing to a jewelry store. Reliability, when you say something, do it. That's important. We need it on time. If we got something promised for Saturday, we need it in time to get it set back into a piece of jewelry in time to take care of our customer. Because generally with jewelry, they have an event coming up, a trip that they want this piece of jewelry for, a wedding, a birthday, or something. It's generally event oriented, and we've got deadlines. And so reliability is very important in building that relationship of trust with the jeweler. And knowledge of the gemstones, and knowledge of what you can and can't accomplish. Don't promise things that you can't do, unless you're going to say, well, I might be able to do this. I don't know. I've never worked on a tanzanite before. Do you want me to try it? Be honest. Don't promise things you can't do. Promise things you don't know if you can do. Be honest, because let them make the decision if they want to risk it or not. And that way you're not responsible for something when it goes wrong. And be very open with them about risk. If the risk of cutting a tanzanite is high because it might get hot, it might chip, it might cleave in the process. If it's a peridot, I've seen peridots do weird things before. Be very open about the risks with them. Be honest and open and say, I've done a lot of this. I've rarely seen this happen, but it's a possibility. And so that there's no surprises if something comes along and you're not leaving yourself in a liability situation. And that because it's their gemstone, it's their business, it's their liability, let them make the decision whether to take that risk or not. We treat our customers that way, and I expect to be treated that way by my vendors, so that I can make the decision what risk I want to take. At the beginning, you may want to do some work for them, some repairs or whatever, either free or cheap, just to show them what you can do. Because if one of you walks in off the street to me and says, hey, I'm a stone faceter, I'm going to do this, here's some things I've cut, we need to build a relationship somewhere. There's got to be some trust. my initial, as a jeweler, I would tend to, not want to go there, or I would give you some things that were disposable to try with and stuff. And if you were in a position and you were trying to build that relationship, and you said, well, if you have something you want me to do, I'll work on them for nothing, or I'll do these for $10. I don't know what the going rate is, but just kind of, you got to work and build that relationship, and be upfront with them and say, I'm going to do some work for you inexpensively for free, and eventually you'll be getting my full charges. But I want you to see what I can do. You got to have confidence in yourself and what you can do, and say, here's what I can do, let me show you. And then you can build that relationship where everybody has the symbiotic, both of you making money and everybody going away happy at the end of the day, which is what we all want. Okay, any questions on that aspect of it all? Okay, John, anything? Oh, yeah?
In a repair job, there might be a reduction in the weight of the stone. Are you prepared to accept that, or is that part of the...
We're in full knowledge of that's what happens. That when a stone gets chipped, the mere fact of its chipping, there's a little bit of weight loss there. And then in doing the repair, the symmetry of a stone may be lost. And that's the thing you need to share with your jeweler, because they may not know. I mean, I'm very aware of this. I've been in the business of chipping stones for a long time and having them repaired. And so I'm acutely aware of what happens. You knock the tip off a marquee, you're going to end up with a pear shape or some variation of that. You knock the corner off a princess cut, off a square, you're going to end up with something different. Even a little nick on a round, and all of a sudden it's not so round. And yes, there's weight loss associated with that. And the majority of gemstones, weight isn't as big a factor. I mean, I'm used to dealing with diamonds, where weight is a huge factor, where a couple of points that would take a diamond from a 102 to a 98 or to a 99 changes its value dramatically, by thousands of dollars it can. Depends on what it is. So on a colored stone, it isn't as big a factor, but it is something you need to tell. It's for full disclosure, it's what you need to tell your customer about. Okay, there's going to be a little weight loss in this. It isn't going to be much. Over time and experience, I'm assuming, John, you can predict what the weight loss will be. You can look at a piece and say, we might lose 5%, we might lose 10%, we might lose 20% repairing this. Chipped diamonds or a recut of an old cut diamond into a modern, brilliant diamond, the loss is mind-boggling sometimes. And so it's good to know that for the jeweler going into it, so that they understand. And that's part of telling them all the information, full disclosure, tell them all the information so that they can make the decision that they want to do for that piece of material. Answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. John, did you have anything else to add, or any further questions on that line of repairs?
On repairs, yeah. The big thing that I would say is on the issue of disclosure. When in doubt, talk. When in doubt, tell them more. When in doubt, let them know you're in doubt. If you're not sure you can do it, you've got to tell them. And I tell them in a natural stone, I always say, Mother Nature made it. It can have stresses. It can have problems. All natural stones can break. And I tell them that up front. Now, there are some that are more iffy than other ones, and in particular emeralds on repairs, because we're going to do repair stuff today. In particular emeralds, you get they're oiled. They've got resin in them. Half the time, it hasn't been disclosed when the customer bought the thing, so the customer doesn't know if it has oil or resin in it. They don't know. And you start heating that thing up to wax stop it, and you get a different coefficient of expansion in your oil or in your resin. You've got pieces, or you cold dop it, you CA dop it, and then you use acetone to take the stone off the dop. And the acetone washes all the oil out, and now all of a sudden the stone's all foggy and ugly, and they're going to have to, pay somebody to re-oil the thing. And when they get it back, they don't even think it's the same stone. I mean, it doesn't look like the same stone. If you take an oiled emerald and wash the oil out, it looks like a different stone. And people are already hinky about turning over their jewelry or their stone to a jeweler, and then it's gone to the jeweler, and then it's gone to the cutter, And now 2 people that they don't really know have handled the thing, and it's come back and it looks like a different rock. So you make sure you disclose up front. And personally on emeralds, I'm pretty loath to do emeralds. And they chip a lot. So there's a lot of opportunity there, but I'm not in a big hurry personally to do a lot of work with emeralds because they can really be a headache. And I tell the jeweler up front, these things can be a huge headache. You know, tanzanite not so much, but it's got cleavage, and it's a natural stone. So anytime you dop it, there's a risk. Make sure you're really upfront about that. The biggest thing is disclosure, to me.
Absolutely. I've talked to a lot of diamond cutters in Belgium that a diamond they'll be cutting, and the heat, it'll have a cleavage in it or a weakness in it in a grain or something, and they'll have it on the wheel, everything's going normal, and all of a sudden it goes and will chip off, or a piece will break in half or something like that. And you know, diamond, the hardest material known to man, it's not the toughest, but it's the hardest. You don't expect that to break on the cutting wheel, but it's not an uncommon occurrence in diamonds. And so I fully anticipate that in other gemstones, that there's a risk whenever you put it on the wheel. But you have to disclose that to people. I think I have a more intimate knowledge of it all, having worked with different cutters and things over the years. So you disclose that with people. Yes, sir?
Just out of curiosity, do you get diamonds in scratched as much as other stones? Do you get diamonds that get scratches or chips as much as the other stones?
No.
Or they're harder?
They're much harder. Yeah. That's what the hardness of it is. The hardness is a resistance to scratching, and it's the 10 on the hardness scale. And they do get abraded sometimes. What they get is chipped more than scratched and abraded. Some even really old diamonds, old mine cut diamonds, and some old European cut diamonds really don't have any abrasions on them. What we see with diamonds is they get a chip. On a marquee, the tip will be chipped. Princess cut the corner off. Around chips on a regular basis too. If it's got a thin girdle and it's exposed, it can chip. So with diamonds, that's the majority of what we see as far as repairs in that. Now, in relationship to selling your stones to me, if you've got a collection of gemstones that you want to sell to me, or you'd like me to sell for you, it needs to be something that I don't have easily available. I have a world of gemstones available to me, suppliers, amethyst from all over the world. I remember my first experiences at the Tucson Gem Show, the first time I was there, to walk around and see paper plates piled with gemstones.